Today in this video we will discuss T.S. Eliot 1888 to 1965. Thomas Stearns Eliot was born in St. Louis, Missouri on September 26, 1888. He lived in St. Louis during the first 18 years of his life and attended Harvard University in 1910. He left the United States for the Sorbonne, having earned both undergraduate and master's degree and having contributed several poems to the Harvard Advocate. After a year in Paris, he returned to Harvard to pursue a doctorate in philosophy, but returned to Europe and settled in England in 1914. The following year, he married Vivienne Hay Wood and began working in London, first as a teacher and later for Leonard Banks. It was in London that Eliot came under the influence of his contemporary Ezra Pound, who recognized his poetic genius at once and assisted in the publications of his work in a number of magazines, mostly notable The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock in Poetry in 1915. His first book of poems, Prufrock and Other Observations, was published in 1917 and immediately established him as a leading poet of the avant-garde. With the publications of The Wasteland in 1922, now considered by many to be single most influential poetic work of the 20th century, Eliot's reputations began to grow to nearly mythic proportions by 1930, and for the next 30 years he was the most dominant figure in poetry and literary criticism in the English-speaking world. As a poet, he transmuted his affinity for the English metaphysical poets of the 17th century, most notable John Donne, and the 19th century French symbolist poet including Baudelaire and Laforgue, into radical innovations in poetic technique and subject matter. His poems in many respects articulated the discriminant of a younger poet. What were first generation with the values and conventions, both literary and social, of the Victorian era. As a critic also, he had an enormous impact on contemporary literary taste, propounding views that after his convergence to Orthodox Christianity in the late 30s were increasingly based in social and religious conversation. His major letter poetry collections include Ash Wednesday 1930 and Four Quartets in 1943. His book of literary and social criticism include the Sacred Wood in 1920, The Use of Poetry and the Use of Criticism in 1933. After Strange Gods in 1934 and Notes Towards the Definition of Culture in 1940. Eliot was also an important playwright whose verse dramas include Murder in the Cathedral, The Family Reunion, and The Cocktail Party. He became a British citizen in 1927, long associated with the publications house of Faber and Faber. He published many younger poets and eventually became director of the firm. After a notoriously unhappy first marriage, Eliot separated from his first wife in 1933 and remarried Valerie Fletcher in 1956. T.S. Eliot received the Nobel Prize for the Literature in 1948. He died in London on January 1, 1965.